So with Gen 9 right around the corner, it's time to start speculating wildly about whatever possibilities could await us in competitive. Specifically, today I want to discuss what Pokemon we could see rise from obscurity or rise from mediocrity into becoming broken powerhouses. We have seen this in previous gens, where Pokemon will be blessed with some ability or some new move that will propel them to becoming really great to the point where they might get banned from whatever tier they'd previously been residing in. And a couple of those, because they were in OU, may make their way even up to the Ubers tier. And so I think that it would be fun to just sort of theorem a bit and say what mons could we see getting certain moves, getting certain abilities that would propel them beyond just being good at what they are to becoming absolutely broken. So the first thing we want to do is establish some past examples of what that might look like to prove that I'm not insane. This actually happens. The poster child for this bringing Pokemon back is Pelipper. Pelipper was not a Pokemon on anybody's radar. It was a terrible Pokemon. As far as I know, even all the way back to Gen 3, I can't think of what it would have even done back then. It does not have good base stats. It's no really early route mon, so it doesn't really have high expectations on it, and it only has a single stage evolution, so it doesn't have much time to grow. And so Pelipper just was a really bad Pokemon for the longest time. But all of a sudden, in Gen 7, it gets Drizzle, and it goes from being bottom trash tier all the way up to the point now where it's never going to leave OU for the foreseeable future because it just has that much utility in being the best rain setter. It has basically everything you'd want from a rain setter. It has the ability to ignore Sticky Web. Yeah, sure, it's weak to Stealth Rock, but it can mitigate that, especially now if it wanted to run heavy duty boots, but probably not so much. It probably wants to run the Damp Rock, and it's fine. It has Roost, so it doesn't have to worry about limited switch-ins like other mons like Torkoal do. And it has, beyond that, it has the ability to remove those hazards with Defog. It has U-Turn, which I think is the big one, and it also has Hurricane and Weather Ball that it can spam if it wants to be more offensive set. It has lots of options. That's not to say Politoed didn't have options, but Politoed didn't have reliable recovery. It didn't have the ability to pivot out. Those are the two main ones that you really, really need. And Pelipper brings just as much utility plus those two crucial bits. And so just by giving this Pokemon Drizzle, you take it from being completely trash to being one of the best mons in OU. Not by itself, but in combination with, rain abusers, it becomes very strong. Venusaur is not technically in the OU tier. It's, I believe, UU, but it is often used in the OU tier on Sun teams, and it will rise and fall accordingly with how popular and good Sun teams become. But the gift it was given is Weather Ball. Weather Ball allowed it to be a great Sun Sweeper because it gives it a very strong move in Sun, stronger than Sludge Bomb or Giga Drain even in a lot of instances. And it also gives it a bit of coverage, especially important since it lost access to HP Ice or HP Fire or whatever else it might have wanted to run in the past. It doesn't have hidden power, so it has to run Weather Ball as coverage. Fortunately, it got it at the same time, and that made Venusaur go from being not the greatest Sun Sweeper to becoming the premier Sun Sweeper, Sun Chlorophyll Sweeper specifically. Crawdaunt, I think, is another good example of a Pokemon that was taken from being complete garbage to becoming actually very good. Once again, Crawdaunt isn't OU. I believe it also is UU, but it has a very dedicated niche on any and all Trick Room teams. It has good priority, and it hits really strong. But that it wasn't always the case. Before it got adaptability, it actually was not very strong at all. And so you wouldn't want to put it on a Trick Room team, where the whole point of the Trick Room team is to find the strongest hitters and then put them on the team. That's it. and Crawdaunt was not a strong hitter before it got adaptability. So adaptability takes any of its moves that it wants to spam, mainly the water and the dark moves, and it gives them a 50% power boost. It can use that on the physical or special side, and has good moves already in Knockoff and Aqua Jet and some of the others. So really good for Crawdaunt. Of course, we still haven't seen these Pokemon get so busted that they go to Ubers, but that will come. In fact, that will come right now. We're going to talk now about Kyurem Black. Kyurem Black was, for the longest time, OU, because it had a monstrous attack stat. I think it's like, 180 attack? It's crazy strong, but it had no Ice-type physical attack to spam. And as a result, it had to use special ice or forego that stab option, and especially with the introduction of fairy types, the dragon stab was not so good. But in Gen 8, it gets all these moves all at once, right? It's going to get Dragon Dance, it's going to get, I believe it should have a Skill Shot, and it got Icicle Spear being the other big one. Now, of course, Icicle Spear and Dragon Dance in combination made it so busted that it had to rise to the Ubers tier. I think Dragon Dance by itself may have also, frankly, been enough. That's my personal opinion. And Icicle Spear, of course, was that thing that it was missing. Icicle Spear isn't the greatest move. I personally really don't like it as a move, but beggars can't be choosers, and Kyurem Black really needed that option. Frankly, you could make the same comparison for Kyurem Normal, where because all it needed really was freeze dry and heavy duty boots, and all of a sudden it has too many options and becomes too good in the metagame. But I personally think that's more of a metagame specific problem, at least to some extent. I could see maybe 1 or 2 mons coming out that invalidate that particular Pokemon, and then Kyurem falls back out of the Ubers tier because it's not good inherently in the Ubers tier, whereas Kyurem Black is still quite threatening. Zygarde is another Pokemon that only needed one thing, and all it needed was this thing that it technically already had in the code. It just never got 1,000 arrows. As soon as Zygarde got 1,000 arrows, it went from like whatever it was. I think it was ZUBL or something. It was really bad, and it rose all the way up to eventually getting banned. And the reason is because Pokemon like Rotom, Pokemon like Skarmory, Pokemon like Zapdos, they can all come in with impunity on Zygarde. Zygarde can glare, it can technically, it can hit you with a rock move. Sure, that's annoying, but as soon as a Will-O-Wisp you're basically neutered, and it can't really do anything. The ability to spam 1,000 arrows is just so strong. The ability to not only make every Pokemon that you hit always get hit, because Levitate doesn't matter, Flying type doesn't matter, there's no immunities. But after that I've smacked you down, now I can hit you for super effective if you're a Rotom or you're a Zapdos or you're a Skarmory. That is a really powerful ability to just break through just about everything. And so Zygarde, just by getting that one move, was able to get banned straight up to Ubers. And I wasn't even know you before them. The final one is a bit of a special mention, but Gyarados for a while was super busted, and if Dynamax hadn't gotten banned itself, I think Gyarados would have had to get banned, because Gyarados got Max Airstream. And Max Airstream is such a busted move inherently, but that in combination with the fact that Gyarados previously did not have any good flying stab, right? It has bounce, and that's it. Bounce is terrible. So giving it access to stab flying move, that is also quite busted, and it acts well in combination with Moxie and Max Geyser. All of that creates the perfect storm for Gyarados to be crazy broken. Now, of course, Dynamax got banned, and so Gyarados fell down to the UU tier. But if it had been allowed, because Smogon said, no, it's this gimmick of the generation, we can't ban it, that would be antithetical to the nature of the game, then Gyarados would have probably gotten banned, in my opinion. Or we would just all run Unaware, Clefable plus Seismitoad. And I don't think anybody wants to see that. And even Seismitoad wasn't good because Gyarados also got Power Whip. So, gotta watch out for that. Gyarados would have been Ubers, and I think that you could make the argument that maybe in Gen 9 there'll be some new mechanic that will make certain Pokemon busted. But that is too blue sky for this video too difficult to grasp, because anybody can make up a mechanic, but if we don't actually have it confirmed by Game Freak, then there's no point speculating on anything that you come up with. Alright, so what things should we consider? The first thing I think that's important to consider is what's the base stat total. Sure, Pokemon with high base stats probably only needs one or two things to get all the way up to Ubers. The obvious example is Regigigas. Oh wow, you got rid of Regigigas' horrible ability and give it literally anything else. Maybe it would be really good. And if you give it something like Scrappy Regigigas, sure, put that in Ubers. That's obvious. It's a little bit of low-hanging fruit though. The second, but on the other hand, on the flip side, saying Oricorio could get banned to Ubers just because we buff Revelation Dance. I don't see that happening because Oricorio's stats are just too bad. Nothing you could get it basically would make it banned to Ubers. Not even Pelipper got that far. Another one I think you have to consider is what are we going to be trying to accomplish here. There's three options. There's salvaging a Pokemon. This Pokemon was just bad or it fell off and it has no real niche in the OU or the Ubers tier, and therefore it needs, something just to complement or to replace its base kit that will take it to actually being good again. The second option is coverage. Maybe the Pokemon is good, but it just needs some form of coverage move that allows it to hit certain mons. We saw that with Kyurem base when it got freeze dry. All of a sudden, it can hit a lot of the bulky water types that would normally have Walder, like Tapu Fini, and all of it. That was all it needed to be able to get banned to Ubers. The final one is role change. Pelipper, of course, was not good, and so you could say that was salvage, but I would say it was also role change. Pelipper wasn't Bangarang set it before, and so it's an entirely new paradigm for Pelipper to now all of a sudden have Drizzle, and so now it's going to be played in an entirely different fashion than the way it was before. The final stipulation I want to say is that we're not going to have any new Megas. Pokemon like Mega Kangaskhan took a Pokemon that was previously really bad and took it all the way up to Ubers just by giving it a Mega. But although we can consider old Megas coming back, I really do hope they do come back eventually. I don't think we should plan on ever getting any new ones again, and so we won't have that as an option. So I have 4 Pokemon I want to talk about today that I'm going to try to get banned to Ubers. And we can speculate that maybe some of these moves will come in Gen 9, or maybe some of these abilities will come in Gen 9, and we can consider each one in turn. So the first one is Landorus. We're going to try to get Landorus banned. Why? Because, it's Landorus. Everybody wants to get Landorus banned to Ubers. And I think the fun drinking game with Landorus is every generation is this the generation Landorus gets banned? In Gen 6, people wanted to ban Landorus, and they never did. In Gen 7, Landorus got Defog, and I think maybe one other move that was really good, I forget. At least Defog. And people are like, now can we ban it? No, Defog doesn't make it ban worthy. It just makes it an even better, more useful Pokemon to have, to the point where it's like on 60 to 70% of all teams. Gen 8, Landorus still doesn't get banned. Is there going to be a point where Landorus can get banned? I think personally that if we give Landorus Shore Up, specifically Shore Up, that it would be ban worthy. And this is for a few reasons. First of all, Landorus would do well on sand teams, right? It's got Intimidate, so you can safely maybe set up your Sand Sweeper. It's got U-turn, you can pivot around. It's gonna not take chip from the Sandstorm, so it complements sand teams well. If you get a Shore Up, all of a sudden I can get 75% of my health back. That's really powerful. Even if I don't want to run it on a full sand team, all I gotta do is toss a T-Tar or a Powdon, probably T-Tar, on my team, and all of a sudden I have an incredible recovery option. The second reason is that let's compare Landorus to Gliscor. Gliscor also has recovery, also has a really good ability, also has a whole slew of moves that it can use. What makes Landorus better or different from Gliscor? Well, Landorus can hold an item. Of course, Gliscor could hold an item, but it really wants to run the Poison Heal set, and so it's going to be running the Poison Heal set. If the Gliscor is holding the Toxic Orb, then it can't hold any other item. Whereas Landorus can run Choice Scarf, it can run Choice Band, it can run anything it wants to run, leftovers, heavy duty boots even. or I guess protective pads maybe. It can run basically anything it wants, and that allows it to have much more utility beyond its moves and its base stats, because its item can also help it out by giving it extra speed, extra power, whatever it needs. And Shore Up would give it sort of a roost option. In some ways that could be better even, because you're not actually going to get landed. Not that Gliscor usually gets hindered by it. In fact, you could make the argument that Roost would actually be better, because you'd lose 4 times weaknesses to ice and whatnot. And so maybe Roost would also be a good option. I just figured Shore Up would be a more unique option. And also, personally, I think Shore Up works better for Landorus because it's thematically appropriate. Landorus is the Earth Genie, and so giving it moves that give it dominion over the land, like Shore Up, would seem to make a lot of sense to me. Will it get it? I hope not. But if it does, I would hope the Landorus would eventually get banned, because it would just be so strong. That being said, Smogon usually does not ban defensive Pokemon, because you can always make the argument of, oh, well, this Pokemon is good in the metagame and it beats Landorus, so no, it's not broken. And that's it. So, I think it's a weak argument, but it is really useful as a Pokemon. The other thing that would potentially tip Landorus over the edge, not this move in particular, but in combination with Recovery. Sandsear Storm is potentially coming from Legend Arceus. It's a special move, so I don't really think it fits too well with Landorus' normal kit, but if you give it Hidden Power, if that returns in Sandsear Storm, then I think Landorus could have a passable special set. And Sandsear Storm has that nice ability to burn, so I think it would be a good spam option, right? Oh, I need to kill all the physical attackers, let's burn them all. Anyway, that's Landorus. Hopefully it gets something good so it can get banned. Kartana is the next one. This one I think is going to be a little more controversial. I think maybe a lot of people will think this does not make it ban worthy. I'm just throwing ideas out there, then you can discuss it. Kartana getting a new move called Spring Back, and I want to make Spring Back basically just Steel type U-turn. You know what U-turn does. Now it's a Steel type move, and Kartana doesn't want. I don't want to give Kartana too many strong moves, but Spring Back would allow it to get in, get out from situations. I did, however, give Kartana close combat on this particular set. I said, hey, we're not going to give it really crazy grass move, and we're not going to give it a really strong steel move either. We're not going to give it Meteor Mash. We're not going to give it I don't know what another good strong steel move would be, because Steel Beam is special, so that wouldn't be a good option. But we're not going to give it something like that. But close combat's not stab, and that would really turn a lot of those close to 2-hit KOs into 2-hit KOs and make the Scarf set even more scary. And Spring Back would be really nice, because I can't punish you for going into your Kartana as easily if you're getting off. There's a really strong 75 base power move that lets you U-turn out. Nothing's immune to it, so I can just switch out. Of course, maybe Rocky Helmet exists, but I can see Protective Pad set coming into play. Maybe Swords Dance over one of these moves. I don't know exactly what. I think that would be really a problem for a lot of Pokemon in the tier. And so I think that with that, Kartana could be ban-worthy. This one I definitely think would be ban-worthy. I don't think that there's any question about it. If you give Hoopa Unbound Sheer Force over Magician, you do two things. First of all, you get rid of Magician. Magician's a bad move. In fact, it's so bad that I've seen Hoopas die to the Life Orb that they stole. So, not really a good option in my book. On the other hand, if you give it a good ability, then Hoopa can actually use it to become really strong. And I think Sheer Force is a perfect ability for Hoopa. Now, the first thing we're going to say, Hyperspace Fury is not going to get affected by Sheer Force. I believe that's already a thing, if I'm not mistaken, but we're just going to say that. That way, Hyperspace Fury can actually do what it's meant to do and not worry about losing its one ability to breakthrough, protection, whatever. So, ignoring that, if I have Zen Headbutt Fire Punch, Gunk Shot, all of those have secondary attributes, so they're all going to be boosted by Sheer Force. And so now I have 3 moves that I can abuse that are all going to get boosted by Sheer Force. And if I just toss a Life Orb onto Hoopa, now it has the ability to use its impressive coverage options to hit just about everything in the tier. And that's all only the physical set. The special set would also be useful because Dark Pulse, Psychic, Focus Blast, they all have secondary effects as well. They're all boosted by Sheer Force. And that's going to take that weak Dark Pulse and make it actually pretty powerful to turn Psychic even stronger. And Focus Blast, of course, still has to hit, but it would be very powerful if it did hit. And so this would make Hoopa just break just anything in the tier. Like, I don't care who you are, you're going to get dead. So give Hoopa Sheer Force, that's all it needs to become very powerful in my opinion. This final one, I decided to use Mega Slowbro. Technically, I could also see the normal version of Slowbro getting banned, but it would be a lot easier to work around. The idea is, okay, Mega Slowbro has Shell Armor. It also has Cosmic Power and Body Press. And so all I need to do is give it a move that's like Body Press, but for Speed F. Now, the one thing about Body Press that makes it a really good move is that when I boost my defense to boost Body Press, I am boosting a defensive stat. The defensive stat normally just gives you defensive utility, but it's actually giving you offensive utility if you have a Body Press. So instead of using Swords Dance to just boost your attack, I'm using Iron Defense or Cosmic Power or what have you to actually boost my defense and my attack stat at the same time because I'm using Body Press. And so if Slowbro is able to use Cosmic Power plus Body Press and it cannot be crit because of Shell Armor, then all of a sudden, how do you break it? If you let it get up 1 or 2 defense boosts, you just lose, straight up. Like, you have to taunt it right away, and if you don't have taunt, then you're basically screwed. You can status it all you want, it just is going to rest it off. And because of Shell Armor, Pokemon like Urshifu can't even crit it. So Urshifu normal, after this gets to +1, I only think it's a 2 KO. And it can easily just Cosmic Power in your face, and you can't stop it. And that's banned Urshifu too, if I remember my calc. So this would be completely broken. Again, if it were just normal Slowbro, you could maybe crit it because it would still not have Shell Armor, so Urshifu normal would come in, bypass all its defense. It wouldn't have quite as much stats either, and it would be more manageable. But even then, I still think it would be a really annoying set, especially because the crit chance is nerfed, and so your chance of actually breaking through the set would be far less. You'd have to taunt it after statusing it with like Toxic to actually have a chance, and that's if you can withstand the onslaught of Body Press plus Soul Strike, which is going to be really hard to resist because Soul Strike means, oh, I should go for my Dark type. Well, I'll just choose Body Press, and Body Press is going to be resisted by, I guess, Psychic types, but after +2 or +3, I'm just going to bop you anyway. And if you're a Psychic type, you better have Shadow Ball. I don't really think that's a great option. So I think this would definitely get banned to Ubers. And all I need is one move. And I guess Mega Bro to come back. Alright. So I think a lot of Pokemon, the expectation of going to Ubers is just too much. There's no way that a lot of these mons could ever make it to Ubers, in my opinion. Even Pelipper, who got a very good ability, it didn't make it to Ubers. And I think that just comes down to, your base stats aren't good, or you don't have enough of a move set that I can salvage it with just fixing 1 or 2 small things. You have Frost Moth, a fire type move, or a ground type move. Okay, yeah, now it can hit certain mons that it couldn't hit before. Now Frost Moth doesn't have to be complete bottom of the barrel trash tier Pokemon, but is not going to get banned to Ubers all of a sudden, even if it does have a fantastic ability. So maybe we can just aim for the OU or the UU tier. Okay, and I think one thing that you can always rely on is just slap a broken ability on it. Maybe not Frostmoth because it already has a fantastic ability, but Arcanine. Arcanine is a Pokemon that people always like to make fun of because you use it in a tier where it's not supposed to, quote unquote, be used in, oh no, you're using Arcanine in NU, oh no, you're using Arcanine in RU, wherever it happens to be at that particular gen. And people will say, oh no, Arcanine is such a bad Pokemon, and if you would just stop using it, then it would fall down to P, and then we could use just fine. Arcanine's got a crazy base stat total, it's got really good move coverage. You just can't hack it in the higher tiers, especially not after we got all these mons back with DLC. But what if we give it Magic Guard? Well, if we give it Magic Guard, all of a sudden it doesn't take Stealth Rock damage, it take Flare Blitz damage, and it would be a lot better. It could be even good defensively because all of a sudden now it's a toxic damage. So I think that something like that would be a really easy fix for Arcanine. I don't think it would make it to Ubers, but that's all it would need. So just think broken with what currently exists, and I think you can make a bunch of mons, even if they don't make the Ubers, that would still make it quite a ways. So that's just my thoughts about what Pokemon we could see go to the Ubers in Gen 9. Of course, we don't actually know what the metagame will look like. The metagame could completely shift, and certain mons that were more favorably viewed before could become worse. Some Pokemon couldn't even get nerfed, like Aegislash. We don't know what's going to happen in Gen 9, but as has happened in previous gens, there are Pokemon that probably will rise up, and so it's fun to sort of take a shot and say, I think this Pokemon is going to get good all of a sudden, and here's how I would do it if I were going to make them good. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Tell me what you think you could do to make certain Pokemon better. Maybe you're going to give Gardevoir 50 base stats to each stat, and all of a sudden now Gardevoir will be good. Maybe don't do that one because that was pretty dumb. But come up with your own, let me know, and I'll catch you guys next time.